Well, that was quite the lengthy presentation, and Todd didn't even wear his leather jacket, so you know they were serious about this one. Anyway, I'm going to give you my thoughts on what we saw. Naturally, I probably missed a ton of things, so feel free to call me a fool for missing things. For those who are interested, the question of the day is, what are you most excited about after seeing the presentation and why? Of course, feel free to mention anything you are disappointed by also. I will give you my answer at the end of the video while also indicating what my first playthrough will probably be and the faction I am most interested in. That said, let's get started. Combat systems. I thought I would start this one with the more controversial discussion point that this game has had over the last year, with that of the combat systems. So this is where we can compare to the 2022 gameplay reveal. As many people have noted, it seems to have notably improved upon that reveal. At the time, I do remember there was a lot of criticism of it, and it would seem with the delay that there has been great improvement since then. Nothing groundbreaking, but it seems like it's more polished, and the sounds certainly have improved for guns. And if you're like me and Fallout 4's modding managed to turn you into a gun nut, and can't wait for your ears to be caressed by the sweet sound of a ballistic weapon showing why it's better than those soulless energy weapons going pew pew. Hashtag Team Ballistics. Then again, we also got to see and hear the mag weapons. And sorry Ballistics, you were my best friend, but electromagnetic weapons are now my new best friend. You might be thinking, Kilted Warrior, why are you talking about sound design in the combat systems section? Well, I'll tell you, because if something is the bedrock of good shooting mechanics, it's having a soundscape that makes it feel like you're using a weapon, which its sole purpose is to ruin the other guy's day. Seriously, compare a non-modded Fallout's combat to one with weapon sound changes. It is a whole new experience. Anyway, at its core, the shooting seems to be similar to Fallout 4's, which was fine at the time, but we have the addition of more reactive enemies with varied death animations, the ability to use environmental hazards for some cool effects, and of course the inclusion of gravity into the equation. And no, me accidentally falling off ledges in Elder Scrolls and Fallout do not count as a gravity mechanic. Nor does Oblivion's really weird arrow physics. So Zero-G combat looks great, and I do look forward to seeing how I can leverage a melee build in those areas and just how the jetpack plays regarding these environments. Of course, we do have jetpacks. I want to draw attention to traversal. You see, my biggest issue with Bethesda games and their combat was how rigid their movement system felt, usually involving you engaging your enemies on a linear plane. Having the jetpack as a standard equipment piece means that we have more options for engagements. Again, I noted when I was covering Halo Infinite that mobility options are important for changing how combat feels, and the same applies here. It means Bethesda has been able to design the handcrafted areas at least to make good use of it. Sure, having levitation mods for Skyrim was all fine and well, but you always realised that the levels were not designed with it in mind and it felt weird and the AI was helpless. So for me, big thumbs up for jetpacks. It's one of the reasons I will still defend Mass Effect Andromeda's combat system. That being, movement options are great for encouraging combat replayability and adding some tactical depth. Of course, we also have melee, and for me the jury is still out on melee. It certainly looks better than Fallout 4's, which got very stale with its awkward looking animations. Of course, melee stealth looks fine as expected. I mean, it was fine in Fallout 4, and unlike range stealth, is not stupidly broken by design. I want to stress that I do love melee builds in most RPGs, and if they can nail it right, I will be very impressed. Anyway, the new animation model deserves a mention, as it seems Starfield has put more effort into its third person. And I swear that they've adapted a more directional animation based fluid system as opposed to the old rigid forward, back, left, right system of their older games. Can't quite confirm this because I haven't seen enough, but when Todd Howard does mention the animation changes, it does seem to appear that it does have a changed directional system. It's this very reason why I use true directional movement in Skyrim. It does help with combat a lot to make it feel better. Finally, for combat, we have to mention space combat. It seems like we have a component-based targeting system so we can take out enemy core systems during fights, which is presumably part of how we do boarding actions, which also looks pretty cool. As for its movement and feel, well, anyone who knows anything about flight sims will know you can't judge that from a video. You have to play it to really get a feel for it. I am interested to see what it's like switching between the different power allocations on the fly, which again is another sci-fi favourite.
Boosting power to your engines will make your ship faster. Powering up the ground drives will shorten the amount of time it takes before you can make a jump.
Very much looking forward to targeting with maximum firepower, or, as I must say as any true Scotsman does, I can't do it, Captain, I didn't have the power. Yeah, that's pretty cringeworthy even coming from a Scotsman, but anyway, I look forward to trying out the spaceship systems. All in all, I think the combat is looking good. I will have to experience it for myself, but the mixture of mobility improvements, weapon options and animation improvements, both for the player and NPCs, does look promising. Story and factions. So the story seems to be classic sci-fi hero fare. The protagonist stumbles upon a discovery that will change the galaxy as we know it. It appears that we have discovered the Force or Mass Effect fields or precursor race technology, whatever sci-fi MacGuffin you want to reference, and we gain superpowers, it seems. Point is, at the core of the story we have the adventure/academic faction in now of Constellation, which is clearly the group that gets us to the point of discovering that we're in fact a Jedi. They will probably end up being the most neutral faction that you can be part of, and it would appear that they become more of an extension of the player as the story progresses, given that all of its members become your followers. Overall, from the looks of it, it seems that they might be going for the Fallout 4 style faction system as opposed to Skyrim's, as it seems the core factions are all linked into the main story or main quest, and likely means there's going to be a range of different endings possible. I just hope they don't repeat the same mistakes of Fallout 4 and allow these factions to be played like side content without having to commit to the main story. That is, Fallout 4's were designed around the main story a bit too much, and it was very much to their detriment, I felt, and led to the classic dissonance between story and gameplay problem that so many Sandbox games have. Regardless, we have Constellation as mentioned, and we also then have the Freestar Collective, what some people are calling the Minutemen in Space, but I'm going to go with being more edgy and say they're the Desert Rangers or Regulators in Space, just to show that Fallout 4 was not my first Bethesda game. Anyway, they have dusters, they have cowboy hats, just to make sure that they are clearly an analogue for the Wild West. We then have what I'm calling Space Raiders, which is a reference to a crappy but no less popular packet of crisps that I ate as a kid for those who live in the UK. Yes, we do have the Crimson Fleet for all those edgelords who cannot bear to be nice to NPCs and simply must steal ships while collecting sandwiches for their sandwich room, I guess. Apparently every raider ship must have one of these. Finally, we have the United Colonies, which I'm going to call the UNSC, or the Human Systems Alliance. As the run-of-the-mill, we are the lawful authorities of humanity, and we don't care what those punks at the Free Collective claim. Also, for you PlanetSide fans, that would make them the Terran Republic, as opposed to the Free Collective's new conglomerate. Of course, the United Colonies with its vanguard is probably the most militarily advanced group, and will probably be essential for my not Commander Shepard or not Master Chief playthroughs. Those seem like the core factions with obvious sub-factions within them that will probably not be joinable but will have references in the story and gameplay. That is, other than the vanguard and these sort of rangers of the Free Collective. Regardless, it's an interesting selection. I just hope that we can decide not to pursue the main quest and still get plenty of story content from each of them, and see how it affects gameplay regarding available equipment, maybe unique perks, or rather skills. But let's be honest, Bethesda, you're not fooling anyone by calling perks skills. Anyway, I'm cautiously optimistic about the story's mystery, and its framework should help it avoid the story to gameplay dissonance that I've mentioned in other videos. Also, it has not escaped my notice that the St. Louis Arch is a ruin in some of the footage, so I do wonder what the story with Earth is. If you want to know about my preferred faction and how I'm probably going to go about this story, check out my first planned build at the end of the video. Progression systems. Progression systems have always been a core part of all types of role-playing games, and are a crucial part of replayability. For Starfield, it seems to have mixed two approaches together. On the one hand, it seems that they have recognised what people liked about the use of traits and quirks in several popular RPGs, such as Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 1 and 2 before that, which I do approve of, as having special dialogue options, even if it's only a few, is still a nice thing to discover, and having a mix of humorous ones and also random event-based ones is also great. So with the starting skills, background, plus traits, they are a good foundation for progression, as it gives you the groundwork and then you can work from it. As for the meat of the progression, you then have the leveling, and this is where it seems they couldn't make up their minds. If they wanted to return to, say, Fallout's core skill perk system, or if they were going to continue streamlining as they did with Fallout 4's system. Again, I'm going to keep referring to Fallout here because it's clear that it has a lot of influence on the design philosophy of Starfield. For the record, I preferred the older Fallout's clear skill perk divide. For Starfield, it seems that they have chosen to do a third way, in which they have taken the Fallout 4 system of combined skills and perks, but have added in challenges to allow for ranking up, which I certainly prefer to Fallout 4's, because Lord knows it gets boring having to use early perk points for ranking damage output and crafting skills, particularly if you're playing survival mode with difficulty mods. The only issue I have with this system is they don't fully explain it, at least not clearly. It appears that you spend a skill point to unlock the first rank, obviously, and then you do challenges to get the rest of the ranks. It doesn't make it clear if you need a skill point to get rank 2, 3 and 4, but we'll have to see. It seems to be the case, but it's not confirmed. Either way, the challenge system does seem interesting, but I hope that the challenges go beyond repeating the same action 50 times. It seems it would get boring very quickly. However, it seems to be that they're not putting level restrictions in as Fallout 4 did, which I do appreciate that, because that was quite an annoying element. Whatever the case is with how the skills actually work, I do still want to say that I would prefer to have skills back as a proper concept. The 0 to 100 point skills just is a good system. I don't know why they felt the need to get rid of it. There's a reason why I always use the level up mod for Fallout 4, which brought back the older leveling up systems. Regardless, the traits, the starting skills and the backgrounds along with the challenges are definitely an overall improvement on Fallout 4 system as well as on Skyrim's vanilla system, and with any luck it should allow for varied roleplays, particularly regarding the character creation elements there. Gear progression. So we have a decent character leveling setup, but with any role-playing game, especially a Bethesda game, gear or equipment is a crucial part. For outfits, it seems we are limited to a spacesuit and a casual or civilian outfit, though you can just wear the spacesuit everywhere it seems with the ability to use the hide suit button. Part of me would have liked the suit to be multiple slots so we could mix and match, but the variety of looks that we have available from the footage seem to be pretty good, so I can let that slide, so long as there are plenty of cool Mass Effect style suits which can be seen at some parts of the presentation. Seriously, I just want to be able to play Commander Shepard. That said, I do like that they have kept the varied resistances of Fallout system with physical, energy and EM, which I assume is electromagnetic. Obviously for the mag weapons they've added. Also you have thermal, airborne, corrosive and radiation, which seem to be for environmental hazards but also possibly special ammo type. We also have the damage resistance system that we are familiar with. Again, I do miss Fallout New Vegas' damage threshold system, but DR is fine I suppose. Overall, it seems like they've got a good damage and resistance system going here, which, to be fair, has always been fine in Bethesda games as long as you don't abuse those systems too much with stack and resistance sources. Then we have weapons. They have taken the Fallout ballistics versus energy dichotomy, which is now improved by 0G and low gravity environments, so I can see myself running a precision build with energy weapons with a melee secondary for those 0G encounters, closing the distance before showing them what it's like to take a katana slice to the face. Yet we also have the addition of mag weapons, which at a glance seem to be high DPS weapons which are presumably meant to be mid to late game weapons. That said, I do like the visual style of these weapons. It is like they took the Gauss rifle from Fallout and decided to make it a bit more futuristic. While for melee weapons we have a decent selection, and they have my favourite sword options and obviously the obligatory katana for all you cyber samurai. I do love a good katana. One of my favourite Fallout 4 mods was a katana mod that added custom animations for it. Japan, I salute you for giving us a weapon that fits both fantasy and sci-fi perfectly, so thank you. Of course, that's just the overall categories of some of the options. That the progression is found obviously in the different tiers of weapons no doubt in the game, but also the ability to modify those weapons, which seems to fit into the Fallout 4 mold of general modification types for damage, accuracy, fire rate with the expected visual changes, which is always nice to see. While I also appreciate ammo types being highlighted as part of magazine modifications, as in Fallout 4 they made damage types changes related to barrels and they were few and far between. That said, why not make ammo selection a separate mechanic for on-the-fly switching like Fallout New Vegas? I get certain ammo types would require a modified structure to weapons logically, but I would love to have hollow point and AP switching again. Overall, it looks good, but we'll have to get into the game to judge how extensive it all is and if it's just, Fallout 4 Plus. Also, didn't see any melee mods being shown, but I assume they're part of it, but that remains to be seen. Yet there is one more part, or rather two interlinking parts of progression that I have not mentioned yet, that being of your ship and outposts. Obviously, outposts are an expansion on Fallout 4's settlement mechanic, but it looks like they've created a more user-friendly experience with a dedicated menu to manage the outposts as well as your crew in one place, which is great to see. I will say I can't be the only person getting Sim Settlement mod vibes from some of these things that they've shown regarding outpost management and its systems. Overall, it's all fine and well, and it does link into the main faction of the story. But otherwise, I imagine most players will make one outpost as a home base, and then ignore it, as was the case with Fallout 4 for many players. Of course, as a Sim Settlements fan, I did commit entire playthroughs to building a new Commonwealth empire, so hopefully I can create my own Cerberus roleplay with suspect laboratories everywhere, roleplaying as being Jack Harper. Actually, I'm going to note that down, that actually sounds a lot better than a Shepherd run. Anyway, the thing that really has our attention in all this is, of course, what is new to Starfield over its predecessors, which is the spaceship you command. This looks to be a key part of progression in the game, as it also defines where you can travel content-wise, and perhaps is used to unlock more challenging systems as a result. It also defines your space combat capabilities and is at the core of your team, or rather crew management. It all looks very intriguing, and yes, I will try to remake the Normandy, and yes, I will consider this game to be an unofficial Mass Effect 4 that we all deserve. And no, I will not stop referencing Mass Effect. So anyway, overall, the progression systems, we have skills and perks combined, as was the case in Fallout 4. It's a shame we didn't get the skill system back, but the system itself with its challenge-based unlocks looks to be intriguing and would definitely be easy to mod. We then have a streamlined armor system, but with the expanded resistances and the so very cool armor designs for different roleplays, though we still don't know how extensive, and we don't know if the jetpack can be modified, though I would assume it's under the equipment modifications. We then have a nice variety of new weapons, and with the presumably at least one new core damage type, I just assume, from electromagnetic weapons. And with plenty of modifications to keep you trying out new builds, and an improved melee system taking advantage of the new animation system, it should make melee feel a bit better than it was before. Those above combine to give us the crafting system, which we would have expected, but need to see a bit more before we can fully judge it compared to what Fallout 4 already had. That said, it does look promising, which then leads into the Outpost system, which for all you city builders, including myself, hopefully we get to see King Gaff work his magic and expand the systems even further, though so far they look to be a big improvement on Fallout 4. But again, I reiterate, seriously, check out Sim Settlements if you still play Fallout 4, it's a fantastic mod. Finally, and perhaps most importantly for many fans, we have the dedicated ship customization system, which is made even better by the fact you can keep your own fleet of ships, stolen or otherwise, which fits nicely into the role-playing side of things. Overall, definitely an improved progression system over Fallout 4, and I look forward to seeing what kind of builds I can make with it. Environment and visuals. I won't go too much into the little specifics of this, as personally I don't obsess too much over visuals in Bethesda games, if only because I will mod the hell out of it regardless. But I like what I see. If there is one thing I have always believed was an issue with Bethesda's visuals, it was their lighting. And now with a real-time lighting system which can hopefully take advantage of ray tracing for my old 2060 Super, it all seems very intriguing. Again, I know little about these things and I'll leave it to the experts on what's actually going on with lighting based performance, but I've got my fingers crossed here. Let me know if they've actually made a statement on this kind of support. On the other hand, for the faces, of course, they do look odd, but very few games escape that almost uncanny valley thing that modern visuals seem to have regarding eyes. But then again, I got through Horizon Zero Dawn last year and Andromeda way back when, so I think I might have a tolerance for these sort of things by now. The character customization itself, however, does seem to offer plenty of options, which is really good to see. I mean, my standard for games like this is, can I create Bob Ross or not? Once again, I will mention guns here. They have obviously great sound as I've mentioned, but also visually they have some fantastic designs. I know a lot of people, including myself, were not too keen on Fallout 4's makeshift weapon look, hence why I had like 100 real world based weapon mods in my load order at any time. Anyway, here the weapons look great, and with some futuristic ballistic weapons clearly built on real world designs of modern assault rifles, as well as some more conventional weapons. I swear I saw an M1911. Of course, this wouldn't be an environment and visual discussion without talking about the environments, as well as the various biomes which are essential to any good sci-fi exploration. The generated environments, which obviously many of them are, given that we've got over 1,000 planets, look surprisingly good, and with the real-time lighting system as well as weather systems are looking pretty good, though to be fair, Fallout 4's base weather effects were also pretty good. That said, I did swear by Fading Signal's True Storms. Anyway, it's all looking pretty good and has far more colour now than it did in the 2022 reveal. Back then it all looked a little bit too dull, which then links into the crafted environments. So we have New Atlantis and Aquila, which have both benefited from improved lighting and weather and both look great. I'm impressed with the detail, and hopefully when we see more we shall be able to see just how lively it is. I just hope it's not like Diamond City in Fallout 4 where it left me feeling a bit disappointed, to say the least. Also, it would be negligent of me if I didn't mention the performance in the game. It's looking like the Xbox version will be locked at 30 frames per second. I'm on PC, so I can just modify the settings to get up to 60 frames, but I do feel for those who were expecting to go to 60 frames. At the very least, the Xbox should have included the option to downgrade the graphics to reach the 60 frames per second. As it stands, there seems to be a lot of discussion as to why it was locked at 30 frames per second. Many seem to think it's related to the lighting system, which, given how much God rays in Fallout 4 back then and even to this day still destroy performance, I can see why this might be the issue. Also, it did not escape my notice that the frame rate tanked in the footage when they were showing off the explosive rounds. So the game may have performance issues at launch. I'm just hoping there'll be good ray tracing and DLSS support. Final thoughts. Overall, it was a good presentation. I think a lot of people, including myself, were very skeptical when they first saw the gameplay reveal last year. But it goes to show that a notable delay in release can make all the difference. Of course, this is all just speculation. We don't truly know, and we won't know until we actually play it. And I do wish we could get 30 minutes of uninterrupted gameplay so we could analyse it properly. Maybe the Xbox Extended Showcase, which I am writing before that, might have some more footage. I will admit, I'm excited to try out Starfield. I'm looking forward to making lore and build videos on it after it releases. Make sure to subscribe if you want to get a notification of when I make videos for Starfield, as I will be making some in advance of the release. We'll probably go into some theories on how I think the story is going to go down as we get more information. Of course, make sure to let me know of your thoughts on the game, and remember, the question of the day is, what are you most excited about after seeing the presentation and why? You may also say what you're most disappointed in. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, have a great day, and thanks for watching.
What a view! It's a feast for the eyes! Off we go! To another adventure!
Question of the day. So the thing I'm most excited about is being able to customize my own ship. The way you can just shift everything around, adjust it, add pieces here and there, with in-game bonuses and reasoning, as well as creating my own take on iconic ships. Simply put, I'm going to put hours into this. Like, first time I play, I'm going to stockpile resources and then spend a couple of hours making the perfect ship. As for my first playthrough, I'm torn between a quintessential Commander Shepard roleplay, because I'm a boring person with no original ideas, with a character build that turns the Vanguard into a jetpack jumping maniac with a sword and shotgun, while joining the United Colonies. On the other hand, I might make a cyber ninja with melee weapons only, as well as traps and cyber related abilities with the chef or Ronin background, while becoming a blade for hire among the Crimson Fleet. Or maybe I'll do a Mando build. Anyway, make sure to let me know what you're looking forward to in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts. With that said, again, have a great day and thanks for watching.